All right, you gloriously miserable accursed. It's David Herle here with the Curses of Politics political panel on Friday, April the 25th of 2025. This is our last daily show of the podcast. How you feeling, Kory? A little verklempt?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Looking forward to it being over. Just
No, I meant sad. Are you sad that we're not going to be getting together every day like this?
well, in a way I am. It's forced a new discipline upon my life to get up this early.
It has been life-changing, no doubt about it.
It took a while to get used to it, but I feel like, we're just ending after I'm hitting my stride.
Yeah, that's how the Polyev camp feels.
Right.
You look like you're at the Overlook Hotel. I expect a naked lady to climb out of your bathtub. There's something very spooky about this shot.
I chased the twins out of the back of the shot. Hopefully the elevator's doors don't open and blood comes pouring out or whatever.
Good morning, Nick Taylor-Vasey.
Good morning, David. How you doing?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm fresh off a conference where your focus group of listeners was plenty. Oh man, they're into the daily thing, and they're not looking forward to that part of it ending. I'll say that was unanimous among the people.
Wow, the public policy forum types. I would have thought they would find us too cynical.
I mean, they love your podcast.
Nature loves balance.
It's the single greatest schmooze fest cocktail ever. But it's like you literally have to squeeze to get past a smart person so that you can bump into a powerful person so that you can knock over an influencer. And then people stop you and say, I understand the focus on politics, but don't you think we should be talking more about productivity? Per capita productivity is a crisis that will cripple this country for decades. And I'm like, I'm just trying to get to the bar.
All right, Nick, what do you have for us today? What's going on?
Well, today's one of the days where we start to add more stops to the leaders' lists of like on their itinerary. It's multiplying. Mark Carney starts the day in the Sioux, and then he is coming to the Greater Toronto area, and I'm going to start listing places: Georgetown, Cambridge, and then London. So he's only briefly in the direct orbit of Toronto. But Georgetown's interesting because if you have been listening to his speeches, his stumps, you hear about these students who presented him with profound thoughts.
Or if you watch his ad.
Or if you've watched his ad. And so he is going to a place right near that school. I would not be surprised to see some of those kids. I don't know that they're going to be there, but I'm making an educated guess. And I will also be there to see how it all plays out in Georgetown.
Shouldn't somebody teach that kid how to play marbles or something, have a good time? Why are they worrying about the future of the planet?
It's
That's
future
the whole
Pierre
point.
Polyev. Future Pierre Polyev there in that ad.
It's a select group.
It's the point of the Liberal campaign, David, is that young children can't skateboard with free thoughts in their head.
David's
right?
not moved.
They're like,
He's
my
just
God,
confused. He's just confused.
wheels and ball bearings will be taxed by Trump.
I don't like politicizing kids, and not from any moral standpoint. I just don't find it authentic, like sitcoms where you got kids making jokes about the Reagan administration or shit.
You're not comparing the Carney campaign to Cousin Oliver on the Brady Bunch. Come on now.
I don't know, David. Kids are
Brian
pretty
in
advanced.
Family Ties, when that little kid showed up in Family Ties, he was a witty political observer, and that's bullshit.
Yeah, I mean,
People
my
don't
two
even remember how they
my
ruined
two
the
have
last season
nailed
of Different Strokes.
collective bargaining at the ages of 3 and 7, so I think they're quite capable.
All right, sorry to interrupt, Nick.
That's all right. I love the interludes. And I don't know, again, I don't want to speak out of turn. The kids may not be there, but it's right across the street from where they go to school. So we'll see.
I hope they find some peace. That's all I'm saying. The children.
You come out wearily in sackcloth.
Pierre Polyev starts his day in Saskatoon, and then he goes west to Vancouver Island. He'll be at an event at Moose Bay. And because
Why? I'm sorry, I'm interrupting again.
You skipped the stop in Calgary.
Speaking of sackcloth.
I didn't skip the stop
doing?
in Calgary. But he will be stopping in Calgary, which I did want to note because I won't get another chance to talk about where these people are going. And
right.
I just wanted to throw the Calgary stop into the mix and see what people had to say about that. But that's coming up.
If you're campaigning in Calgary and Vancouver, well, Vancouver Island makes sense. It's always going to be close there, but Calgary and Saskatoon in the last few days of a campaign, holy shit.
Why
That's
does it
not
make
good.
sense for the Conservatives to be in Vancouver Island?
I think those are two-way races.
There's a
with
ton of competitive
NDPs.
seats.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's those are blue-orange races.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but look, Tour tells no lies.
I don't
then
think
what
there's
does
any
Poilievre
orange,
do?
though.
What does Poilievre do after that?
After, are you, like in terms of his itinerary?
After the
rest of
campaign?
weekend.
This is kind of dark, isn't it, David?
No,
that's
a different conversation. But sorry, do you have any idea what he's doing for the duration of the writ?
Yeah, he's gonna head back east. He's gonna go through Sudbury and then Oakville, and then his last event is in his riding in Carleton.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And where will Carney be spending the weekend?
That I do not know. That I don't know. He will be in Windsor, I believe. I don't have that confirmed, but I think he ends in at some point this sort of like southwestern jaunt down in Windsor.
George Soros has a boat just off the island of Vancouver, doesn't he? I think Carney will be there, flying the wet flag and receiving his instructions.
Sorry, Carney's going to be in Mississauga as well. They're doing a big rally tomorrow.
Saturday. Yeah, they got a big rally on this. So he's going to be in Ontario for the rest of the campaign, basically.
That's what you expect.
Yeah.
Golden Horseshoe the rest of the campaign.
I'll be at that one too, but I won't be able to talk to you about it. This is a tough moment. What do I do with this information?
Aren't we talking on Monday morning? Are we not? We're not doing Monday morning?
We're not doing Monday morning. We're doing Tuesday morning. Oh. What would we say Monday morning? This is the last day of the dailies.
I know.
That's why
I've seen you more than I've seen my family. It's gonna be weird.
I didn't realize that's terrific news. Okay.
Right.
And then Jagmeet Singh is in Toronto. In fact, I got back late last night from the thing downtown, and some of the reporters who are following Jagmeet Singh around are in this very Hampton, because the Hampton is just good enough. It works just fine. He'll be in Toronto. He'll go to the OpsView conference, and then he's headed to Hamilton.
The Hampton, do they have a waffle iron in the lobby?
They do.
Yeah. Oh, they do. Yeah.
Ideal.
Yeah. And what about a Gatorade machine? Can you get a Gatorade there?
Let me tell you, there is no.
Are you allowed to play mini sticks in the lobby?
And then he is headed to London as well, and so you've got a couple of leaders playing follow the leader with each other.
Going to save Matheson?
I don't apply opinions. I wouldn't say save, but I would say there is an NDP seat there that is available. And where the NDP, I'm sure, would like to keep an MP. Yeah.
Well, given our record with ridings, I almost certainly got both the riding and the name of the person wrong. So
no, you did pretty well.
Yeah.
I think Elmer McKay is running in London. Is that not right?
I'm not sure you can go much further east than Toronto, but that was good.
All right, Nick, listen, thank you for all you did for us this campaign. Thanks for getting up every morning, no matter where you were in the country, and for putting up with our bullshit.
Well, I'm just sorry you didn't get more Mickey next time.
Mickey was a nice rotation.
Yeah,
Mickey was great. Thank you for us as well, would you?
I wasn't kidding. I wasn't kidding when I first said and you made fun of me for it, but I said she changed my energy. It's because you've seen it now. She's great. She's great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. We've loved it twice in a row. I don't know what I'm going to do when my body clock has changed now, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'll just stare at a wall for a little bit, but we'll reconvene.
As always,
I'm sure at some point.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sure we'll reconvene at some point. This can't be the end. This has to be just see you later.
We'll have a reunion.
I truly hope.
We'll have a reunion. As always, folks, go to Politico, Ottawa Playbook, and check out what's happening in the campaign. It's your best one-stop shop for detail about the campaign. And Nick and his team put it together every morning by 6 a.m. So thanks for everything, Nick.
Thanks for having me. I'll see you around.
Yeah, see you around.
We love you, Nick. We love you, and we will miss you.
Thank you, Nick.
See you, buddy.
Okay, this is too nice.
No, come on.
This is
too
too nice.
easy for me.
The people expect a little bit of beating up. Okay, it's been great. I'll see you guys.
As the Trump administration continues disrupting the Canada-U.S. trade relationship, it's reassuring to know CANDU reactors are Canadian designed, and they're helping to ensure our energy security. CANDU reactors have been powering the Canadian economy for more than 60 years. Current CANDUs have been updated and modernized to meet today's standards, but there's a need to build new reactors in Ontario to buttress our existing high-functioning fleet and help secure our energy independence with clean baseload power. These reactors also provide critical access to life-saving medical isotopes used in hospitals across Canada and around the world. Unlike other large reactor technologies that rely on foreign sources of enriched uranium, CANDU reactors use natural uranium mined and prepared in Canada. President Trump can't mess with our fuel. Equally important, the construction of the next generation of large reactors in Ontario help ensure our skilled manufacturing base of high-paying union jobs, threatened by Trump's tariffs, will be in demand as we build a fleet of reactors in the decades to come. These large CANDU reactors will provide Ontario with much-needed additional power. At the same time, investments in small modular reactors will be necessary too, particularly in remote locations for resource development. CANDU technology, designed by Canadians, built by Canadians, for the benefit of Canadians. Let's get moving.
Okay, David, give it to us. Are we still bleeding? Jesus H. Christ.
What do you think?
What do I think? My room full of worries. I've closed the window. I'm very distressed. I think that Ontario's continue to leak. That's what I think. I'm anxious.
Polara Polling is brought to you by Enbridge, a leading Canadian energy infrastructure company, reliably and affordably fueling your quality of life and powering our economy. This is the last round of daily tracking from the great folks at Polara. Very pleased to have had their help throughout the campaign. Dan Arnold, in particular, has been rising early every morning to compile this data, do some analysis, fire it off to us. As the guy that has been polling for national campaigns for the last 3 elections, couldn't have had anybody better assisting us on this. So thank you to Polara and thank you to Dan Arnold for everything. This is Tuesday through Thursday. 2,382 cases, mix of live interviewer and online. Liberals 41, Conservatives 38, NDP 10, Bloc 6, Green 2, TPC 2. Ontario, Liberals 46, Conservatives 37, NDP 12. Quebec, Liberals 39, BQ 26, CPC 24. It's a much better number for the Liberals. The Bloc number has receded.
That's good.
BC, very surprising, consistent though. Liberals 42, Conservatives 38, NDP 15. They have 688 people who've already voted. Among those, the Liberals lead by 13. Which of the following best describes this election? The Liberals are going to win, 39%. The Conservatives are going to win, 18%. Too close to call, 27%. Don't know, 15%. Among NDP voters, 6 in 10 either say it's too close to call or they don't know. So there's still potential for some NDP strategic voting if the Liberals play that. Correctly. So it looks like the national number is tightening on the basis of improving CPC numbers in the prairies, but not in the regions where they needed to make gains. So, Scott, what are you thinking in your room full of worries?
It's crowded. I know that there are people who listen to the pod because I get unprompted notes from friends and strangers alike saying, can I bring a sandwich? Can I squeeze in there with you? Like, people are watching these numbers, Liberals. I'm really relieved to hear about Quebec because that suggests that maybe they're going to pull out 45 seats there, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but that's kind of where, that's looking like a robust number. And even Ontario, 46-37. I just hope that isn't narrowing further. But it's kind of been at 8% for the last 4 or 5 days, really. Like, it's been in that zone. It went from 15 to 8, basically, I think. And so I'm hoping that that's where this thing is frozen. And I'm also hoping that all the discussion of Trump, and I'm sure we'll talk about yesterday in the phone call and all that fucking stuff, but I'm just hoping that him being back in the atmosphere galvanizes a little bit of vote, particularly in Ontario. Because I think that Trump particularly motivates voters in Ontario, whether it's auto manufacturing or just, the general sort of dynamic. So, I feel like the Liberals should win, but it's the plane is not, we're not like lowering the flaps, strapping in and landing, forcefully with purpose. It's like we've cut the engines and we're gliding.
Yeah. Reminds me a lot of the 1980 Liberal campaign. It started with a 20-point lead and ended with a 10-point lead. Just bring it in. Jordan, I saw your eyes light up at the double-digit number for the NDP.
I'll take it, my God. Yeah, it's depressing to be excited for double digits, but here we are. So I think,
Right.
that echoes the idea that there's a bit of a bump happening, echoes certainly what I've been hearing from the ground, and it would also suggest that the Liberals have been hearing the same. Carney spent the last couple days hunting for seats in NDP ridings, so I can only assume that their campaign has seen some of the same things. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to have a little lift in the numbers, this is the time that you want to have it. So we'll see.
Right. Kory, Conservatives are going to look at this number and think that they are close, but objects in the mirror may be further than they appear.
Yeah, I think the challenge is what you said. Gaining more votes in the prairies doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like look, it's when you see a 1-point change in a tracking poll, like I don't start doing backflips or anything. Like it's been twitching in the margin of error for a while now, and I think BC and Quebec continue to be the places where the movement's being the most meaningful in terms of what it might mean for seats. So, we're down to the last little bit, and there's not some big sea change going on, unfortunately.
I wish we'd spent more time talking about or trying to understand BC, because there's something strange going on in BC in this election. Like there's a like the appeal of Carney in British Columbia seems to be uniquely strong out there.
Well, it's that, or the unappeal of Polyev is particularly strong.
I think it's more the second.
and maybe how Trump is landing is something closer to what you're seeing in Ontario than it is in Quebec than it is in the prairies.
I had two thoughts about BC. One is I know what our guys are showing, and I've seen others showing that. Like Nano sort of shows that spread, but then other pollsters show it as a horse race. So I find that confusing. I don't know what to think. I'll assume that the Liberals are ahead because that's what our pollster is telling us. Second thing is, I wonder if it's a microcosm of the country. Like, I wonder if BC is not one campaign, but a series of campaigns. So in the interior, you get a kind of result, but then on the island, you get another result. And then in the lower mainland, you get another result. So we're actually watching in these poll numbers a blend of a bunch of regions. And it's not indicative of there is no province of BC in this campaign. There's just little.
Or
totally
ever.
agree.
Yeah,
with that.
That's true.
Yeah, I think the huge regional discrepancies in how the campaign's playing out in BC.
Yeah, like so I doubt that number is consistent. Like the NDP are probably running neck and neck in places like the island. That would be my guess. But we should have Mike McDonald and
if only there were some people who could talk about BC.
No, that's right. Hey, we should do a cross pod with the Hotel Pacifico and do a dissection of this when it's over.
And we should go there to have that pod.
Because you're looking for an excuse to go to Vancouver.
You're fucking right.
Hey, the Fairmont Pacific.
I was like, that Empress Gin is not. If that gin is not going to drink itself.
Maybe my favorite hotel in the country.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So yesterday was an interesting day on the trail, with the Carney-Trump phone call business. And I have to admit, I was in travel much of the day yesterday, and I wasn't really able to follow this along the way I'd like to follow it. Doesn't appear as big in the papers today as I might have thought it would be based on yesterday. The papers. Don't I sound old? But in any event, um, in any event, Jordan, does this play for Carney as a renewal of the Trump issue and as further evidence that you need Carney to deal with this issue, or does it undercut his forthcomingness and credibility?
Well, the horseshoe continues to be firmly wedged somewhere because I think it definitely just brings up the Trump issue more, even if there is a bit of a risk of it being a character issue. Did he mislead people? He certainly gave a different answer yesterday about whether Trump had talked about 51st state than he did after the call. That's a problem. That's not good. This is the first major stumble like that we've seen from him. But because he is just the luckiest motherfucker on the planet, that stumble also serves to reinforce the ballot question that is so powerfully favorable, because it lets him get out and talk about the call, talk about the fact that he wasn't called governor, talk about the plan that he's bringing to negotiate in the future with Trump. And so in the end, I don't think it ends up really harming him. And that is remarkable, because this is something that ordinarily, if we had our prime minister who maybe misrepresented what happened during a call with our biggest trading partner in the middle of a trade war, that would be big news. But right now, I think it's probably not harmful and maybe even helpful to them.
What do you think, Scott?
I think in broad terms, it's helpful because it brings back Trump. And I just think anything that brings back Trump, it doesn't bring back the minutia of what happened in a scrum. And what it does is it brings back questions of leadership, our relationship with the United States, the economic insecurity that flows from it. I think that's what people withdraw. I don't know that we got enough of Trump in the past 36 hours that it's actually forced its way back to the front of everybody's mind, because yesterday wasn't as loud as it might have been, in my opinion, in terms of Trump. So I think that's the bigger takeaway. And I think that the Liberals need to maintain and pound away on this theme for the next 2 days, all the way to Election Day and during Election Day. But the other thing I would say is that I do think it highlights something that kind of went missing. Even if the Liberal campaign sort of had a soft sort of drift in the middle, one thing that did happily disappear was Carney's hesitancy, self-inflicted errors at the microphone. Like, there was a little bit of that when he first became PM in the first days of the campaign. That's largely vanished. But yesterday, if you watch the scrum, he looked hesitant. He looked evasive. And so I don't think that that's a consequential event in terms of the campaign. I just think it reminds us that he's still new at this. And I have a personal theory. I think there's been, without Carney, I think there's ongoing discussions, with officials, with the U.S. He made this weird reference 2-3 days ago to whoever becomes prime minister within days will be talking with the president. And then he kind of walked it back and people said, does that mean there's a meeting already set up for shortly there? I just think there's something going on that then caused him to triangulate in his head how he wanted to talk about Trump at the microphone, and all that kind of ended up in something weird. So I think there's something going on beneath the water there. Last thing I would say is, this conservative thing about where they just say aha, and then, look, you want to do whatever you can to motivate your people, but you see all the Toronto Sun is just jacking itself raw, going, oh my God, see, it's sneaky Carney and he lied, and then he lied and he's all these memes back. You've not convinced voters that they look at Carney and see a guy who's a liar. It's just, so don't waste your energy in this last 48 hours telling people something they are not yet convinced of. Find the flaw in him that people are willing to believe, not the one that you want them to believe, because that's just a waste of energy.
Hey, Kory, as a former comms guy to a prime minister, when the prime minister is talking to the president, how many people are listening? 20, 40, 100?
I don't know. Probably less than 10, but yeah, there's a bunch of officials and political staff that are silent partners on the call, and
You
then
can't really
working
lie
with
about it. Like there's a lot of
no,
people who
well, but as you guys also know, the readouts on these calls
Yeah.
are something that's negotiated, and there's stuff that happens on them that doesn't make it into those readouts. Uh, so it, you know, who the hell knows what's going on right now in conversations with the administration and with the president, because like he's all over the fucking map. Like minus Canada out of the equation, it's been a wild few weeks in that White House, like wild, the stuff that's going on. And, and the inconsistency is like, it's jarring, at least to me, it's jarring.
Oh, yeah.
Not just as somebody who lives on planet Earth and has to deal with the world that this guy is messing around with, but just in the context of like a political office in a president's office, administration, you've got central figures in this that seem to be surprised on an almost daily basis with reversals in policy and pronouncements that are coming out of the president's lips. Like, clearly Trump's in charge, but like, he seems to be walking alone on a lot of this stuff.
You know whose name I never hear, Kory? That chief of staff.
Yeah.
I never hear anything about his chief of staff. She's obviously not. She was supposed to be a whip hand, tough sort of gatekeeper type.
You can't gatekeep Trump. You can't keep Trump. Like,
Yeah.
I loved it when the Mooch came in there for his 24 hours as comms director, and he's searching for the leaks, and then quickly figures out that it's actually Trump. Who's leaking to the media around here? By the way, can I get the number for the reporter at the New York Times?
She's working behind the scenes, though, David. Like, somebody is submarining Pete Hegseth as they decide whether or not they're going to. She's creating the sufficient distance that if they decide to kill him at morning, they can get away with doing it. So, but you raised something. I know this really probably doesn't make sense on our last pod where we want to be focused on the campaign, but it is an interesting question as to who leaked. Like, how did Laurence Martin get that story? Where did that come from? Like, and hats off to Radcan, because that's a big story, and that's a deal, and it really drove yesterday. But like, how did that come to be? Who was in a position that you could say to Radcan, and they have standards, so they're not just going to say that somebody said it. Like, that means somebody who is in a position, or they have to believe it. So who is it that said, well, one thing you should know about this is actually he did raise this issue at 51st State, and you should report that. Who does that at this point, who's in possession of that information, and what is their motivation? I don't want to sound nutty. I'm just saying it's an interesting question. So it makes you wonder, because there are only 7 people that are on the phone call, but there are 50 who get the transcript. And, so that's an interesting thing to me.
Right.
That's a good point, Scott.
Well, that assumes that came from the Canadian side.
I don't assume that. But
well,
then,
if it's going to Radcan,
really
I'm going to say, it came from the Canadian side.
Pretty niche.
Radcan is a strange place for an American to go.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Peter Navarro isn't thinking, how do I get this out in Shawinigan?
Not a lot of French speakers in that White House. I'm just going to posit that. I don't know for sure, but I'm going to posit that there probably aren't.
Or people who could find France on a map.
Right.
All right, Jordan. This is it. Just one weekend to go. What are you looking for? What are you paying attention to this weekend?
I'm ready for it to be over.
Careful what you mean by that, right?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's all get out the vote operation right now for the NDP. I think that's the most crucial thing, and that shift happened, for the NDP. They pour all that into the advance, so that machinery has been up and running, and that's where it's going to be. I think we've seen Singh out over the last day. He did that interesting interview with the Star where he talked a little bit about why he didn't bring the government down in the fall yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw that, but so he talked about,
he liked your line very much and he used it.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was causal. I think it's because, there's truth in it, right? That's, that was certainly part of the rationale. But also it's an effort to do a couple things. He needs to make some virtue out of having supported Trudeau in the fall. He needs to hug Carney a little bit, because a lot of NDP voters are liking Carney and looking at Carney. And then he also needs to position himself as the one who is the bulwark against the Conservatives, the one who's fighting to stop Poilievre, and who's done that, throughout the course of the last couple of years. So, I think it's interesting because that's always a tricky decision, to make a statement like that. If you're a party leader, and to say that, you sacrificed an element of partisan advantage, to the benefit of another party in order to block a third party, it's quite something, right? But I think that's also a symbol of, the NDP knows what's coming on Monday. They know what kind of campaign this is, and they're not going to leave any potential avenue for those NDP Liberal switchers who might still be gettable. They're not going to leave any stone unturned rhetorically for that. So we'll see if it lands. I think it's congruent, though, with what we've seen from them since they started their endgame message before the debates.
I think it's kind of a weird double-edged sword. Like I think it's true, right? That, what he's saying. I think it's an honest statement. But does that create an environment where people are going to vote for him because he made that decision and he's fighting Poilievre more than he is supporting Liberals? Or is he actually giving a permission structure for people to strategically vote in a way that they don't end up voting for the NDP? Because it's kind of a version of that he's talking about having done. He's talking about putting the interests of the party second to the objective of stopping Poilievre. Yep. Which is exactly what's going on out there. So like, I was a little perplexed by it because like I can see the one side, but boy, oh boy, can I see the other too.
Yeah, I really want to ask Jordan this, and I know I know you laugh when I say this, but and maybe I'm just a crude moron, which I guess would be the conclusion for anybody who listens. But like, I honestly mean this. Why doesn't he do, in these dying days of the campaign, a donate blood appeal? Why doesn't he literally say, like, I still think the message is too subtle. I think it requires too much mental gymnastics. We need to have a strong and in this, and Carney's going to win, but I'm not going to say he's going to win, but therefore you need us. Like, why doesn't he just say, listen, cards on the table. We've been a party for 65 years, and our future as a party is at stake. Mark Carney's going to win this thing. If you voted NDP in the past, if you have an NDP member in your riding, vote NDP. Do not vote Liberal. Our party's at stake. Our future's at stake. There's too much at stake for the country. Vote NDP. This is my donate blood appeal. We are in desperate need of plasma, and the patient will die if you're not there for us. Like, I don't like.
It's a tough argument.
It too desperate?
It's a tough argument.
I mean, I make it sound a little desperate, but
yeah.
When the next thing people see is 41-38, it's a tough argument.
Yeah. That's the problem.
But that's why you got to do it, isn't it? All the more reason.
Yeah, I think it's a version of donate blood, but the only way I think you can land that message is by saying, in ridings where they're NDP incumbents, where in ridings where we're clearly the alternative to the Conservatives, because if you do that appeal across the board, that doesn't land as being true. Like it's kind of the opposite of what he was just talking about, his own decision making.
Yeah.
I think I would say, like, I am seeing the campaign use that appeal regionally in incumbent seats, but not having him carry that message. And I think that there's a fine line there as well, because, you have to preserve some sense of winning, right? Like, when you admit to or just suggest that you're losing, and that is also demotivating for people. So there needs to be some part of a path that suggests that there's growing momentum and people still coming to the NDP. Like, you have to be able to speak to that in some way. So I think that that's the line that he's walking. Whether that's the right line or not, I mean, we'll know on Monday. But I think that they've come as close to that with his voice as you reasonably could, and particularly yesterday. And then they're letting the incumbent campaigns and the regional campaigns deliver the clearer message. I mean, they actually had Premier Eby out there delivering that message in BC. Like, he went out and said, if you have an NDP incumbent, vote NDP in BC.
So somewhere we've got technological challenges. We've lost Reid. You're freezing up. But I have another question.
Let's just have a conversation, you and I, then, David.
Yeah, exactly, Kory. Let's just go at it. So Polaris says that Stephen Harper in favorability is +1 and Pierre Poilievre is -9. And Polaris says among men over the age of 55, Harper is +7 and Poilievre is -16. Are we going to see Harper one more time in this campaign?
Well, he's on ads. They're running ads with him.
I know, but is he going to show up at a rally?
I don't know. Like, maybe, but like, yeah.
Yeah, but he's their closing ad. You're right.
Well, like, this is how grim things are. Like, you got to think that things are looking more grim in the conservative war room than they appear. If you're campaigning in your own riding and you've got stories about how you're funneling volunteers in there because you're worried that your leader's going to lose their seat, if you're campaigning in Saskatoon and Calgary, this is not good. And you know what? You've got even Singh, who is like on death's door, can get Premier Eby to go and do an event with them. What are the stories in the media today? So that Tim Houston is not going to be seen anywhere near Pierre Poilievre, and stories about more of this, vendetta campaign of Jenny's with provincial counterparts. It's like, this is all really bad stuff to be floating around in the media in the final days of a campaign. Like, there's clearly problems going on. Clearly problems.
Yeah, when I looked at National Newswatch this morning, it was not sort of the group of headlines for the Conservatives that you would want heading into the final weekend.
I probably have looked tired yesterday. Hey, I don't know if you guys saw his avail. He's, I think, not in a good headspace. It's been interesting to see them return to almost like a version of that Canada is broken theme in the dying days. Like, he's got that weird speculative report that he's raised now for
he's so seized on that.
Seized on it. So 3 days in a row. This is tinfoil hat stuff.
Can I stop you? Why isn't he campaigning against terrible things the Liberals actually did, as opposed to
like real things,
fantastical
right?
sounding things that may happen at some point in the future if Liberals keep getting elected?
Well, I mean, now we enter into like pop psychology, but I think this is him, right? Like, he likes that, he has that like apocalyptic imagination. He's not selling hope, he's selling end times. Like, that is where he is retreating to in the dying days of the campaign. And I think that that's a genuine instinct for him, but it's a wrong political one. There are enough real legitimate problems that people have. You don't need to look for a future report from some weird government department. Like, you can speak to the reality that people have in front of them, but that's not where he's choosing to go. So my only conclusion is that has to be him who's driving.
Scott, you're making faces. Why do you think he's so into this PCO horizon planning document?
Well, I mean, to the point you guys are making, you and Jordan are making, like, it is strange. Like, do you want to be the prime minister or do you want to be Joel from The Last of Us? Like, it's hard to fucking tell when you get on this stuff. And
I mean, do I have to choose? Because
I think there's two sort of things maybe going on. I'm just guessing. But one is, I wonder if it's an extension of their GOTV. They think that their route to 38, 39 is they must, even if we think it's improbable, get those younger voters to vote. And this is the kind of thing that they eat for breakfast. I don't know. Even as I say it, it sounds kind of preposterous. And so I think the more logical explanation is what you guys have touched on, which is that this is in some ways a channeling of all the frustration he must be feeling inside. Like, I have some friends who are hardcore. I mean, obviously we all have lots of friends, and Kory is a hardcore conservative, but I have friends who are bitterly angry about this campaign, who literally like just fume, right? Like, I got unloaded on by a friend yesterday and said, like, I can't fucking believe this country is going to choose 4 years of liberals after all that's happened in the past decade. And they talk about the past decade as though literally, planes fell from the sky, right? So they're just like, I can't believe this is fucking happening. What is wrong with you people? Like, how can you not see the obvious? And so I think maybe if you wanted to be prime minister since you were 13 years old, you thought for 2 years you were going to be prime minister, and now in these closing days, you're looking at internals that tell you you're not going to be prime minister. Perhaps this stuff seeps out of you. I that's bullshit pop psychology and therefore dangerous. But I know I would be in a twisted fucking place. I would be. I'd be in a really twisted place.
Well, I think the argument that Canada is broken is not as compelling as the argument that the Conservative campaign is broken, and I'm hearing that same frustration everywhere I go as well. People are beside themselves that we're going to lose, like, and they're mad. They're mad about it. They're mad at people voting Liberal, and they're mad at the Conservative campaign itself.
Well, here's a little explanation and solace for you Conservatives, and for those people out there, and you in particular, Justin, who think that Trudeau might have won this election too. Here's what Polaris says on favorability: Carney plus 22, Trudeau minus 21.
Yeah.
So a 43-point difference.
It kind of makes you think that the biggest mistake of this campaign was driving Trudeau out of the race.
It's the dog that caught the car.
Look, it's manifestly in Trudeau's interest that the Liberal Party succeed without him. So, because the alternative is such a dark story, which is that, he took the party and left it as he found it, as a burning mess. But it must be agonizing for him, right, to watch and see that people have turned the page and so rapidly, so entirely on him. And also now casually, even Liberals talk about his time as though it were the Dark Ages and people had lost the ability to eat with utensils. Like, it's
carbon tax. Who introduced that?
I don't.
It will come
history.
around. History.
I'm not a student of history, but I think I've heard of this Trudeau guy. But
it will realign itself. But it must be an unpleasant period.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of unpleasant periods, I have had a great time with the three of you over the course of this campaign. Getting up at 5 a.m., no fun for me. My rhythms are off, such as I have rhythms. They are completely off. But it has been so much fun to fucking talk to you every day about this. It's great. Thanks for doing it.
It's been fun for us too, I think.
Thanks for having us.
Fun. I used to wake up in the middle of the night, go pee, and then lay in bed thinking how long before I must actually get up. Now I just wake up, go pee, and then hook my microphone up to the computer and talk to you guys. So sorry if I overshared on my routine. It's been a blast.
Well, I want to thank all of our sponsors over the last 5 weeks: TELUS, CN, CanDo, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, YouTube, and Enbridge. Again, I want to thank Polara for their support, and all of you accursed out there. We heard from so many of you privately and public events, running into you. We've all had a great time together. I'm glad we were able to liven up this election campaign for you a little bit, maybe stimulate some conversation. It's been our pleasure. So thank you for joining us. And let's do blessings and curses.
I got a blessing. I want to throw a blessing to Dennis Matthews and Creative Currency, Lauren, and all those folks, Barb and Jason at Enterprise, all those folks who put on that incredible event that we did this week. It was just really fun. First of all, just being on stage with you guys, I think we always have better conversations when we're all in person, and just to chat with all the people in the room. Like what a great group of folks that were assembled there, and the conversations continued on into the wee hours of the morning.
I had a shirt. I was wearing a shirt, and the button kept coming undone on the shirt. Did I flash any fat belly at any point during the show? Do you think?
Almost constantly. My eyes.
You were just feeling really at home.
I noticed it. You would often have your feet straight out, and your shirt was unbuttoned at the belly. And I got to tell you, my eyes were drawn to you like a magnet.
What could be a better metaphor for this Liberal campaign?
I thought I'd really prepared myself. I'd put on long socks so that my calves wouldn't show. But there you go.
I got grief about my socks and shoes, but I almost reached over and buttoned it up.
I just didn't wear any socks. It works better that way.
All right, Jordan, you got a blessing or a curse?
I do. I have a blessing. It is going out to my beleaguered people in the NDP. They haven't had a lot of blessings this campaign, so I'm going to give them one today. So this is going out to all of the NDP campaigners, the staff, the volunteers, the candidates. As you will all know, it is a lot easier to find campaign focus, unity, energy when you're winning. It can be very hard to find those things when your campaign is not going well and when you're in a really difficult circumstance. But I think that they have fought a really hard fight with the best that they had available to them, and that is an accomplishment, sort of. And more than anything, the blessing is for them to keep fighting it right until the end. Don't leave anything out on the field. Don't leave a single vote. And that's something that hopefully will bring an improvement to the results.
Oh, you're muted there, David.
You're muted, Dave.
I was going to say you had laggy internet there, so it looked like one of those video messages on Lost, from a previous time.
Found footage.
From the future.
That's what we've turned into.
Scott?
Well, mine's going to be super personal. I mean, obviously, one of my blessings is for all the people and all the campaigns are going to have to work like hell all weekend long and try to get their vote out. So tip of the hat to all you folks, particularly those of you who are on campaign planes, because that's where I usually found myself drinking beer and wondering about what might have been. But my blessing goes out, since we didn't have a morning pod yesterday because of the Creative Currency event. Very personal, goes out to my son, Sam, my youngest. He turned 12 yesterday. And David, I just wanted to read a portion. He sent me a letter. He left a letter for me on my desk yesterday, which I thought you might find interesting. It reads, "Daddy, on this, the day of my 12th birthday, my young gaze is drawn to the South and to the complexity of tariffs as applied to car parts. How shall we calculate those parts and materials that are uniquely Canadian in origin as separate from those assembled in Mexico and Canada and the United States?" So, happy birthday, Sammy.
Right.
You're one of a kind.
Right, Scott.
I'm just saying, I'm sure, is he the only one of your sons still speaking to you at this point?
Yeah, Jack's a little, after those shout-outs from the stage, he's, it may take a while before he talks to me again.
Yeah. All right. My blessing goes out to all the folks on the Carney campaign, on the Liberal campaign. They've been on a ridiculous run from January to today.
What a heater.
It's been unreal what they've been through. A leadership campaign. First of all, they had to conceptualize and launch Carney, and then they had to run a leadership campaign. And I will cast our minds back to the fact that when it started, it was not a given he was going to win it. It now seems ridiculous in retrospect. But at the time it started, it wasn't a given he was going to win it. And wins the leadership decisively, then comes into the election. Pretty seamless. The campaign, I can imagine how with more time, people could have done some things better. But the campaign itself looked pretty seamless, pretty competent throughout the whole thing. His performance got better and better. So after, what is it? 4 months of consecutive work for those people, I think you have to say mission pretty close to accomplished. It's been a hell of a run. and it's been very well done. So congratulations, and my blessing to you. And so, with that, I bid you all adieu until Tuesday morning, when we'll be back for our recap. And in the meantime, the most obvious thing is go Habs go. Caulfield, I'm looking for you, brother. All right. See you folks on Tuesday morning. Have a great weekend and survive Monday.